This year, for our 2025 stewardship campaign, we've created a devotional. It has scripture and reflections from our clergy to help you think and pray about giving and what it means to be part of God's tapestry of grace. I hope you enjoy this week's devotional. Now, Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. Genesis 37, verse 3. The story of Joseph contains one of the most powerful instances of forgiveness in all of literature. If you've ever done something that needs forgiveness, this story is for you. So Joseph's dad, Israel, who is also called Jacob, had 12 sons. Joseph, his youngest, was his favorite. Israel, dad, also known as Jacob, gave Joseph an ornate robe as a sign of his affection. When Joseph was around his older brothers, he did not work at all to downplay his status as dad's favorite. In fact, he did the opposite and kind of rubbed it in his brothers' faces. And his older brothers became very jealous, and so they decided to kill him. Sibling rivalry was intense. But then one of them had a better idea. They said, let's sell him to human traffickers and fake his death. And that way we'll be rid of our annoying little brother and we'll get some extra cash. It's a win-win for everybody except for Joseph. To cover up their crime, they tore up Joseph's ornate robe, that symbol of his dad's favoritism. They dabbed some goat's blood on it, and they took the torn up bloody robe and showed it to their dad. And they told him that his favorite son had been killed by a wild animal. In doing this, the brothers did something that most of us can relate to. Doing something bad, covering it up, and then working hard to keep it a secret. And they did that then for the rest of their lives. So Joseph ends up in Egypt. He had a really rough go at first. If you've read the story, he was enslaved. He was accused falsely. He had to endure harsh servitude and unjust imprisonment and betrayal. But by God's grace, he ultimately went from rags to riches and rose through the ranks in Egypt's royal court. He became the prime minister of Egypt, running the whole kingdom for Pharaoh. Years later, when a famine broke out throughout the whole Middle East, Egypt was the only country that still had food, thanks to Joseph's divinely inspired leadership, some divinely given dreams, and the fertile Nile River Delta. So Egypt has all this food, and Joseph's brothers, starving, came for food. And it was there that they met Joseph. It had been so many years they no longer recognized him, and of course now his ornate robe was gone, and he was wearing the clothes of an important Egyptian official. Joseph, however, immediately recognized his brothers. And in that moment, he was given the possibility of sweet, sweet revenge. It was right there in his grasp. And who could have blamed him if he had just taken the opportunity to settle the score and dole out some karma? One can picture him yelling, or at least I do, "Do you know who I am? I'm your brother Joseph. I'll never give you food. You faked my death. Now prepare to meet yours." But that's not what happens. Joseph tearfully reveals his identity. At first, Joseph's brothers fear, understandably, his judgment and retribution, but Joseph embraces them in one of the most touching scenes in all Scripture. And instead of holding on to his right for justice, he lets go and he forgives. They all weep. They're overcome by the power of this redemptive reunion. And because Joseph chose mercy, the family is restored. Revenge would only have led to more death, loss, grief, and estrangement. Joseph would have been right, but he would have also been alone. Why did Joseph let go of his right to revenge? Well, he too had experienced grace. Years earlier, when he was left for dead in an Egyptian prison, God rescued him. He knew what it was to be alone and powerless and to be in great need, and then to get thrown a lifeline. Having received grace, he extends it. In this stewardship season, this time we're talking about a tapestry of grace, we are called to let go of something that sometimes feels like ours, our money. We hold so tightly. And we're called to give it to this thing called the church. But of course, our money was never ours, and the church is not some institution over there. It's us. Christianity teaches that our stuff does not belong to us. It is God's. And he is ultimately the one that cares for us, rescues us, provides for us, restores us, And we're part of this great and wonderful mystery called the church, a community that's changing the world with the message of grace. God bless you and keep you.